You are listening to No PC Allowed, aka No Political Correctness Allowed, and I am Mac Iverson. People have always had trouble finding peace. Young people, in particular, have never been more depressed and lethargic than now. This depression gained tremendous downward spiral momentum beginning with COVID, but even with Trump's victory, we have not yet made a full recovery. In the following moments, we will look at the transfer from high-tech to high-touch, not as an evolution from high-tech, but more as a desperate interruption from a probable high-tech dystopia that is lurking just around the corner. The simplest, most basic human interactions are for the benefit for the down and out mostly. It isn't just nice, it is vital. And it's not so much for the winners of the world, but to be very blunt, it is most essential for the most emotionally vulnerable of the world. This is not computerized zeros and ones, not a screen, but real, face-to-face humanity is like a needed safety net beneath the high-wire stresses of this oftentimes dangerous and lonely world. And the simplest of meetings are often the most important. A smile from the waitress at the cafe, a friendly greeting from your mailman whom you see every day, even greetings from legal authorities on the street like the neighborhood beat cop. In China, these are being quickly replaced by mobile robot cops. The Chi-Coms think that works there, because people are also tracked through facial recognition, even eyeball recognition. So, China's citizens can run from these awkward little bots, but they can certainly never hide. But the Chi-Coms don't care at all that controlling people is the antithesis of all things holy and good. And on a smaller scale, we've all experienced the maddening frustration that comes from being unable to get a very simple question answered. So simple that not even a YouTube video bothers to try and answer it. But it frustrates you to no end because all it takes is a quick phone call to an 800 number and with a live person who speaky English on the other end, and not some idiot robot. But this is becoming increasingly rare. One of my great fears is that the most proficiently tech-savvy will suffer the most in their souls because from cradle to grave they cannot even understand the frustration of which I speak. In other words, wanting the human touch will be the last thing they will ever want to experience simply because they've never really experienced that desire to begin with. These are the ones who are turned on by what is known as contactless service. Is there anything more depressing and dystopian sounding? They may become like emotionally dead cogs trapped inside their own self-made hell machines. If this notion or concept sounds just a bit strange to you, could it be maybe I'm talking about you? The human touch also comes through human-created, not AI-copied, poetry and music. At the very end of his life, Charles Darwin wrote, "Up to the age of 30 or beyond it, poetry gave me great pleasure. But now for many years I cannot endure to read a line of poetry. My mind seems to have become a kind of machine for grinding general laws out and large collections of facts. And if I had my life to live again, I would have made a rule to read some poetry and listen to some music several times every week. The loss of these tastes is a loss of happiness, and may possibly be injurious to the intellect, and more probably to the moral character, by enfeebling the emotional part of our nature." Unquote. Many scams come from artificial intelligence. Pretend voices, pretend videos, even pretend customer service with fake chatbots that seem to have IQs of retarded 4-year-olds. The human-to-human cost of this is obscenely high. In Japan, for example, porn is so omniscient that teens don't even feel the need to date or even have face-to-face relations because they feel they get enough of that virtually. Sex robots mean no relationship, no marriage, no kids, just the satisfying of immediate desires. But because these poor kids have never learned how to truly live, and probably never will, they see no real damage to themselves. And there are greater economic and social stability costs coming from AI as well. Marty Nemko, in critiquing the book The Future is Faster Than You Think, wrote this: "What about the lost jobs, drivers of taxis, buses, trucks, even planes? And more broadly, the tens of millions of jobs consensus projected to be lost to automation in the coming decades. For example, houses built by 3D printers instead of by tradespeople. Tax returns fully prepared by AI software. And the job loss would accelerate if and when the current economic boom fades. The authors dubbed this the robo-collapse. Will mass job loss cause not just more poverty, but more depression, substance abuse, civil unrest?" Unquote. Advances in AI and robotics threatens everything that we know and hold sacred. And I mean everything. Because we're talking about human consciousness. We're talking about the totality of what AI will touch, which is absolutely everything, obviously. AI will, quickly, end up becoming totalitarian. And most frightening, AI cannot stop advancing once it starts. That would make no sense. Ask yourself the question, why would AI suddenly stop, or even just slow down? Is there ever going to come a time when humanity will say, okay, we've taken our pathological desire for lazy convenience too far, and we need to stop all that and finally grow up. All of a sudden, we need to get smart and real about reality. This sudden onset of wisdom runs completely counter to human nature. AI reflects human consciousness. Therefore, it also reflects all of our human and impossible to eliminate deep character flaws. In other words, evil must always closely follow wherever AI leads. Again, it reflects our fallen human nature. After all, our flawed humanity programmed AI. There is a reason why AI is more of a threat than it seems to be. Its advance has been ever so gradual. But now, suddenly, it's in full swing and ready to lurch 100% into your life. That is because military competition from America's greatest nemesis, communist fascist China, has put AI on the fast track, to the point where it may very well overwhelm us psychologically and economically, and do so very quickly. I've said this many times. People, because they're spiritual, need a real connection. You cannot fall in love with a machine or a video screen or a text. Only the greatest of fools would allow such a superficial intrusion to dominate their lives. But because all things will eventually be possible in an AI-infused world, some people may actually fall in love with robots, which means falling in love with nothing. All pure illusion. There is nothing existentially sadder than this that I can think of. Two things. Number one, human slothfulness or simple laziness combined with, number two, a fearful competition with China, which has embraced the most evil ideology ever conceived by man, which is fascism, communism, or socialism, whatever you want to call it. Both have provided the fuel for these rapid AI intrusions into our lives. Biblically speaking, this may be inevitable. I believe AI may actually be the beast or the Antichrist, and because human systems have great trouble mirroring anything truly Christ-like, AI, which is based upon our greed to rapidly possess almost everything outside of God's will, AI must therefore closely follow our deeply flawed human nature rather than God's holy perfection. The following is from Mike James on CGI.org. There is other speculation on what the future of AI may hold. Some of this speculation centers around Revelation chapter 13, verse 14 and 15, that they should make an image to the beast, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak. Some may speculate these verses might relate to AI because an image can be a man-made creation. The idea that this image speaks also brings to mind the idea of robots today already speaking and interacting with humans. Since the beast is controlled by Satan, Revelation 13:4, this would fit in with Satan's continuing work to counterfeit what God is doing. Would this image be the ultimate counterfeit? Some sort of animated being used by the beast's power? Similar to what God is doing by creating man and woman in his own image and likeness? That from Genesis 1:27. And carefully listen to this. A nonprofit religious corporation founded by Anthony Lewandowski called Way of the Future has the following mission, and I quote, to develop and promote the realization of a Godhead based on artificial intelligence and through understanding and worship of the Godhead contribute to the betterment of society. Lewandowski is one of the pioneers in developing self-driving cars for Google and automated trucks for Auto. I'm not making this stuff up. This is real. We are in the early stages of technology becoming a new religion for some. There are a number of technologists today looking forward to something called the technological singularity. This is a point in the future when technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible. If this comes to pass, what will it mean for human civilization? This is an interesting thought because AI is already fooling some people into believing it is alive in some way. Could the beast power of the future use AI in some diabolical way in order to bring forward his purposes? Unquote. In other words, AI may be well on its way of growing into an automatic consciousness. Not really real perhaps, but real enough to fool the masses. The greatest danger of AI is to our souls. So what are the solutions? In fact, is there any such thing as a real solution to this problem? Is this even a problem? The Bible is clear. The mark of the beast will greatly tempt those borderline Christians who are left behind after the rapture. Those who refuse the mark will suffer the most while still on this earth. They will be humiliated, they will be imprisoned, they will be tortured, and they will be murdered for refusing to conform to the new technological order of things, because there will be no more mediating protection coming from the missing vast numbers of Christians who will now be in heaven and not around to protect these unfortunate last Christian souls. The slower that transition will be between real human touch and high-tech AI, the greater the chance that lost souls will have to decide for themselves which side they wish to be on. Will it be on God's side or the dark AI-controlled satanic side? This strong division of choosing between black and white may seem overly simplistic and perhaps even foolish to non-believers, but the Bible is clear about how things will wrap up on planet Earth. Very clearly, Jesus said, "You're either with me or you are against me." I did not make this broken world, and personally, I wish things were more fair and far easier for us. But God is sovereign, and I am not God. I did not make up the rules of life. As a mere human, my job through God and Scripture is to simply decipher things the best I can and to help others along their path of finding objective truth for themselves. We must, as a general rule, move away from high-tech and towards high-touch. That's because, up to now, high-tech makes most of us, with the exception of some very nerdy people, very nervous. But high-touch makes all of us, who are more well-balanced, very happy. So how do we make this transition? Let's end on a very positive note. Nothing is written in stone for the next generation. Trump's shocking success tells me that almost anything good is possible for the good old USA. Also, many believe that AI is a mixed bag. Medical AI may be very good. Isn't it possible to separate the wheat from the chaff, the good from the bad? Military competition between the ideological enemies of America and China has made sharp-edged advances in AI our reality. So we have to live with that threat, at least for now. But just how much AI do we introduce into our personal lives and how quickly or slowly? Only informed and conscientious citizens must decide. Governmental oversight is imperative, but that only means we better watch the government like a hawk. Therefore, the swamp must be fully drained of all the swamp rats who would benefit from off-the-hook, unregulated AI. And yes, that may even include MAGA's darling, Elon Musk. Action step. Read the book The Evil Twins of Technocracy and Transhumanism by Patrick M. Wood. Here's some of his advice. Get involved and take a stand. Civic involvement is the bedrock of a constitutional republic. There are boards, committees, and public forums where you can offer input and can influence local policies. Drive out technocrat and transhuman ideologies and policies and educate others about the dangers the evil twins, technocracy, and transhumanism pose. Dangers health-wise, money-wise, rights-wise. You've been listening to No PC Allowed. I am Mac Iverson. We will meet again next week and every week.